And if you can turn on your camera, please turn it on. And magta-turn on na din ako. Medyo na-realize ko lang, ang bagal ko pala mag-discuss natin natatapos yung lessons. Probably because, ano yun, wait lang. Medyo kumukulog. Oo nga, medyo kumukulog na rin dito eh. Sige, nag-disconnect. Sige, susubukan ko ang bilisan mag-discuss. Okay, sige. Start na siguro tayo. Narinig niyo ba ako? Merong extension na yung not. I'm not sure kung ano yung extension. Sige, ganda na lang siguro. Please try to keep your camera on until the end of the discussion, no? Okay, so let's start. So today, we're not yet done with the elements of teaching and learning, no? Sige pa. So the elements of teaching and learning are teacher, learner, and learning environment. And ang gusto ko lang naman matandaan nyo dun sa lesson na yon ay nagkaroon na ng bagong roles and characteristics yung teachers and students. And you should acknowledge those changes, no, in their roles and characteristics if you want to be an effective teacher. Okay, you must recognize the changes with their roles of students. So if before, they are just passive learners, di ba ngayon dapat subukan nyo silang gawing subukan i-implement yung active learning. Okay? Ayan, so now let's have these principles of teaching. Supposedly, dapat ito ay principles of teaching science. Pero let's tackle first the general principles of teaching and learning. At ang kinuha kong source, actually ang daming sources when it comes to principles of teaching at hindi ko talagang mahirap mamili kung ano yung gagamiting reference. Ang pinili ko ay yung galing sa American Psychological Association. So madalas ginagamit yon na source na reference. APA, kung familiar kayo. Diba sa citation nga, ginagamit natin madalas yung format nila, APA format. So APA stands for American Psychological Association. Wait lang, ayaw mag-move. Okay, and I asked you, diba sabi ko sa inyo, you need to watch Every Child is Special, and we're going to refer to that film as we discuss principles of teaching. Pinanood nyo ba yung Every Child is Special or Like a Star ba on Earth, yung ibang title niya? Napanood mo?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good.
Yes.
Sa mga hindi nakapanood, maaaring hindi kayo makarelate sa ibang i-discuss ko sa inyo, but I will try to give other examples. Okay? But you are expected really to have watched that film. Okay, so let's continue. Bakit ayaw ma-move? Wait lang ha. Ayan. So in the module, our objectives, okay, so you should be familiar. So ang objective sa module ay you should be familiar with the various principles of teaching and learning and principles for teaching science, principles for teaching science effectively. Realize the importance of the various principles of teaching and learning through film viewing. I hope you realize the importance of the various principles of teaching and learning through the film. Actually, marami pang film na pwede niyong panoorin. So, i-send ko sa GC niyo kung gusto niyo pang manood ng films that have something to do with teaching. Okay, when we say principle, these are general truth or guiding norm by which process like teaching or learning is carried on. Okay, nagiging basehan natin sila in doing something like teaching and learning. These are psychological laws of learning. Nakikita nyo ba? Psychological laws of learning, important educational theories, governing laws or rules of facts, and generally accepted tenets. Ang gusto ko lang tandaan nyo when it comes to principles of teaching and learning, ito yung isa sa mga gusto kong tandaan nyo. Not all principles, okay, ay dapat i-observe. Kasi may mga principles kasi na hindi formulated from objectively observed facts. 'Di ba may mga principles kasing ganun parang hindi natin alam kung saan nanggaling, hindi natin alam kung ano yung naging basehan ng principle na yon. So ang dapat nating i-observe na principle as much as possible ay yung may mga yung mga principle na formulated or based from facts. Okay? O yung mga principles na merong proven positive consequences. Kasi di ba hindi natin alam baka itong principle pala na to imbes na positive consequence yung mangyari or negative yung mangyayari sa bata. So we should be careful dun sa pinanggagalingan. We should be careful in choosing the principles that we would follow inside our classroom. We should always make sure that these principles are based on research. We should always make sure that these principles have and will definitely result to positive consequences. Kasi di ba as teachers, you can either make or break a student. Tandaan niyo yan, malaki yung inyong responsibilidad pagdating sa buhay ng isang estudyante. So your decisions should be based on sound or good principles, specifically principles of teaching and learning. So let's move on. So now I want you to see yung mga lumang o kaugalian o paniniwala when it comes to teaching and learning. And it is also, these are also from the film that I asked you to watch. Tingnan natin. Ayan. Ina-announce yung score inside the class. Diba? Na-experience nyo pa ba to? Ina-announce yung score nyo. Oh, Princess Joy, you got 25 out of 25. Ayan, palakpakan yung mga kaklase kasi na-perfect ni Princess Joy. Pero paano na kapag ganito? Parang, Isan, you got 2 out of 25. Diba? Parang ano kayong mararamdaman ng bata who got 2 out of 25? Diba? If you got 25 out of 25, parang pwede ka pang ma-motivate lalo to study harder. Pero kapag ikaw yung bata na parang hindi ganun kaganda yung coping strategies mo, tapos you got 2 out of 25, baka pwedeng imbes na ma-motivate ka or ma-push ka to study harder, ma-discourage ka na, di ba? So ito ay isang lumang di ba, ang reason ng ibang teacher dito, parang maganda i-announce kasi para malaman nila lahat kung pasado ka o bagsak. Di ba? Pero itong bang paniniwala na to ay may mga magagandang consequences. Diba? That is the question. At actually, dinidiscourage na nila to. Diba? Dinidiscourage na rin nila yung competition inside the classroom. Kaya nga ngayon, wala nang first honor, second honor, third honor. Ang ginagawa na nila ngayon ay nagbabase na lang sila doon sa grade. Halimbawa, though grade din naman yung basis before and extracurricular activities. Pero ngayon, di ba, if you meet a certain average, pwede kang may honor na lang with honor, with highest honor, with high honor. Ganun na yung awarding ngayon, hindi na first, second, third honor or honors. Kasi parang nakita nila yung negative impact nung ganong sistema. Okay? Next. Ayan, di ba dati nagpapalabas, ngayon hanggang ngayon pa rin naman, di ba may nagpapalabas pa rin na teacher. Yung get out of my class, ayan. Kayo kaya in the future magpapalabas ba kayo? Sa tingin niyo maganda bang magpalabas? Ito na naman ako, nagtatanong na naman ako sa inyo. Tapos hindi na naman natin matatapos yung lesson. Sa tingin niyo ba magandang magpalabas ng estudyante sa klase niyo? Di ba?
No,
Okay.
Hindi po. No.
Paano pag may hindi nangyari sa bata? Pananagutan nyo yung bata kasi halimbawa na aksidente siya during your period. So you will pay for the damages. Okay? Next, ito. I don't want to hear a teacher in my class. Look at your books. So what can you notice? Diba, the teacher is authoritarian, bossy. Ayaw na maingay inside the classroom. Pero diba, what's the modern notion? Ano ba yung mga modern notions when it comes to noise? Diba, sabi nila, there is such thing as healthy noise. Ibig sabihin, yung noise na kahit maingay, kung healthy noise siya, okay siya. Diba? Pero before, kapag ayaw talaga nila ng ingay. So, these are old notions. Okay? Ngayon, okay nang maingay, basta healthy noise. Ayan. Yung pamamahiyan ng estudyante. Meron pa bang teacher ngayon na namamahiya ng estudyante? Di ba, one of the characteristics of students nowadays, as we discuss the characteristics of millennials, ay entitlement. Di ba, students nowadays feel like entitled dun sa mga opinions nila, beliefs nila, and of course dun sa rights nila. And if they feel like their rights was abused by the teacher, pwede silang magsumbong sa parents nila. And di ba, mas entitled na naman minsan yung parents. So sugod yan, di ba? Minsan. So we should be careful and we should avoid ridiculing our students. Kasi may mga negative impacts to sa kanilang emotional well-being. So and social well-being. Ayan, naranasan nyo bang mapalo sa kamay? Ako naranasan.
Yes, sir.
Nung elementary, nung prep, di ba? Nung prep ako, natatandaan ko, sinecheck every morning yung kuko namin. At hindi naman everyday, parang once a week sinecheck yung kuko namin. Kapag mahaba yung kuko namin, pinapalo yon ng teacher. So, ganun dati. I also experienced na mapalo yung papaharapin ka sa board, tapos saka ka papaluin ng paddle. O tsaka ka ipapaddle. So ngayon, ipinagbabawal na nila yung corporal punishment. So kapag namalo kayo ng bata ngayon, pwede kayong makasuhan, pwede kayong matanggalan ng lisensya. So before, ano ba yung reason ng mga teachers for punishing students? To modify their behavior. Di ba sa behaviorism nga, sa behaviorism, if you are a behaviorist, you believe that behavior can be modified by sa papaanong paraan, through punishment, through reinforcement. So reinforcement can be positive or negative reinforcement. So pwede rin kayo magbigay ng reward, di ba? So those are ways of modifying behavior. So if you are behaviorist, so pwedeng may paniniwala ka na kailangan i-punish yung bata para ma-modify yung behavior, para ma-lessen yung probability na gawin niya yung hindi maganda. Pero tingnan natin, marami ring hindi sumasang-ayon sa method na ito o sa ideyang yon. At yun na nga, it can be nagre-reflect yun sa laws natin ngayon. Diba? Meron ng ano nang tawag dyan? Corporal punishment na batas. So ipinagbabawal na ang pamamalo, pamimingot, pagkurot sa singit, 'di ba? Yung naalala niyo ba yung mga kwento ng mga parents niyo? Pinapaluhod sila sa munggo at iba pa. So ngayon maaring hindi yun naabutan kasi mas naging tawag dito, naging maselan na yung yung ating government at yung ating Department of Education when it comes to that. Okay, next. Ayan, punishment din. Ito actually, hindi naman siya masyado parent, child relationship to eh. Pero di ba, you are also like parents to your students. So sabi ng tatay niya dito, you can't write, idiot. If you could, you wouldn't be such a failure, sabi ng tatay niya. So later on, I'm going to tell more about that. Ayan, so ito yung unang principle na pre-provide ng American Psychological Association. Sabi ng first principle, students' beliefs or perceptions about intelligence and ability affect their cognitive functioning and learning. Nakikita niyo ba yung and learning? O ako lang yung hindi nakakakita? Nababasa niyo? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, kung paano daw natin tignan, kung ano daw yung paniniwala natin regarding intelligence ay nakakaapekto sa ating cognitive functioning and learning. For example, parang may nabasa ako dati na sinabi ata ni Einstein. So, Einstein once said, hindi ko na sure kung si Einstein ba talaga, pero parang siya. Parang sinabi niya that genius are made, not born. So ano yung ma-realize natin from that quotation? Genius are made, not born. So ma-realize natin na Einstein believed that walang ipinapanganak na genius. Kundi nagiging genius sila as they learn more and more. So mas naniniwala siya sa nurture na factor. Di ba, you know the difference between nature and nurture. Of course, this nature and nurture are factors that affect growth and development. So parehas silang nakaka-apekto sa growth and development. And they are both important. Okay? But sometimes, ayun, so parehas silang nakaka-apekto sa ating growth and development. And how we see intelligence affect our cognitive functioning. Halimbawa, di ba, if you believe to that quotation by Einstein, di ba, hindi ka hihintong mag-aral because you believe that you can be a genius, di ba? Ayan. Okay, so let's go back dun sa kanina. Sabi dito, hindi, sige, mamaya na lang pala. Baka mapahaba ng mapahaba. Okay, next. Students' cognitive development and learning are not limited by general stages of development. Ano yung... Hindi, sige, hindi na ako magtatanong. Sorry. So, ang sabi dito, di ba, we have sa language, say for example, in language development, di ba, there are stages doon sa language development. So, meron tayong tinatawag na first na one-word stage, two-word stage, and then followed by three-word stage or telegraphic stage. So when it comes to language development daw, or language acquisition, diba? Yung paraan natin ng pag-aaral kung paano magsalita. Ang unang stage is one-word stage. So una daw, one word pa lang yung kaya nating sabihin. Actually, bago yung stage na yun, may bubbling pa eh. Yung tatata, yung ganun yung sinasabi natin. And then followed by one word. So from tatata, or whatever, natututo natin magsalita ng isang word. For example, mama, papa, or dede, or whatever. And then that one word stage is followed by two word stage. So nagiging dalawang words na daw, and usually it is subject and verb. So that is the same across culture. Okay? Halimbawa, sa Ilocano Act, halimbawa, kahit Ilocano ako, ganun pa rin yung stages ng development. Nag-start pa rin ako sa bubbling, susunod ay two-word stage, susunod ay telegraphic stage. Ganon. So, the same goes with a Tagalog speaker, an American, or an English native. So students' cognitive development and learning are not limited by general stages of development. Ang ibig sabihin naman nito ay dapat daw hindi natin kinukulong doon yung halimbawa kapag 'di ba 1-year-old, that is one word stage. Ang expected sa isang 1-year-old na bata ay dapat makapagsalita na siya ng one word. Kasi yun yung range eh. 1-year-old, one-word stage. 2-year-old child, two-word stage. 3-year-old child, 3-word stage. Pero hindi daw ibig sabihin na kapag 3 years old ka, ay hanggang 3 words lang yung kaya mong sabihin. Nakukuha niyo ba yung gusto mong sabihin? It can be, di ba? Parang it could exceed to that. So hindi malilimit sa 3 words. I hope you're getting what I'm trying to say. Nakukuha niyo ba?
Yes, sir.
Or do you want me to? Ayun. So normal lang din na halimbawa yung 1-year-old na nasa one-word stage ay nakapagsalita na agad ng 2 words. So normal yun. Ibig sabihin parang advanced siya of his time or of her time. So students' cognitive development and learning are not limited by general stages of development. Pwedeng mapa-advance through what? Through experience, through practice, and other means. Kapag mag-provide kayo ng more complex activities and the like, pwede nyong mas ma-push pa siya to his or her limits. Next, learning is based on context. Ito palang image na to, naalala niyo ba nung nag-paint si Isha nung nag-escape siya? Di ba pwedeng sabihin ng ilan na parang sa edad na yan, parang ang creative naman niya masyado. Di ba? So that's one of the manifestations that cognitive development and learning are not limited by general stages of development. Kahit hindi expected of his or her age na kaya nang gawin yun. If, di ba, kung lagi niyang napapractice, pwede niya talagang magawa. Wait lang, sisingin ko ng ilaw. Okay. Next. Ayan, learning is based on context. So generalizing learning to new context is not spontaneous but instead needs to be facilitated. So etong context na ito talagang science nito eh. Yung learning based on context. Ito rin ini-encourage din sa atin to ng DepEd eh. So dapat contextual learning. Kasi bakit? Kasi mas meaningful. Diba? Kapag mas meaningful, mas mataas yung tendency or chances na matuto talaga yung bata. Acquiring long-term knowledge and skill is largely dependent on practice. Acquiring long-term knowledge and skill is largely dependent on practice. So hindi naman first time ni Isha mag-paint during this time na nanalo siya. Diba? Madalas siya mag-paint, actually madalas siyang mag-drawing. So that skill ay na-develop or na-acquire sa long-term and through practice. So ano yung implication nun sa teaching and learning or teaching science? So if you want your students to have, to develop their scientific skills, dapat lagi nyo silang pinagpa-practice. Halimbawa, observation. Diba, that's one of the basic skills that you need to develop dun sa mga bata. So you should ask them to observe para ma-practice nila ng ma-practice and take note of their observation. So that is just an example on how you are going to apply it in the future. Next, clear explanatory and timely feedback to students is important for learning. Ako nga hindi ko masyadong hindi ko na masyadong na-practice yung clear, explanatory, and timely feedback. Diba, ang usual feedback ko lang sa inyo when you are reciting is very good, tama yun, and the like. So actually, that is not clear, that is not explanatory feedback. So ano bang ibig sabihin ng clear, explanatory, and timely feedback? So kakausapin mo yung bata about his strengths, his weaknesses. So that is clear, explanatory, and you are going to explain kung ano ba yung weaknesses niya, ano ba yung strengths niya, what are the possible solutions to his or her problems. So that is clear and explanatory feedback and timely feedback. Okay? And according to this principle, it is important for learning. So kakausapin nyo yung mga bata isa-isa kung kaya. And that follows existential principles din, di ba? Existentialism. Yung respect to the individuality of individuality. Next, students' self-regulation, assist learning, and self-regulatory skills can be taught. Example ng student self-regulation ay organization. Or yung halimbawa, nagsiset yung student ng standard sa sarili niya. So that's example of self-regulation. So pwede nyo daw ituro yon sa bata. Okay? Yan. Student creativity can be fostered. So laging pwedeng ma-develop yung creativity ng bata. Pwedeng ma-develop yung kanyang skills, critical thinking skills, and other skills. So hindi as teachers, hindi dapat natin sabihin na, hanggang dyan ka na lang. Diba? Hindi dapat natin sabihin yun. But instead, we should encourage them to improve themselves. Okay? Students tend to enjoy learning and perform better when they are more intrinsically than extrinsically motivated to achieve. So na-explain ko na to sa inyo before. Diba? Parang ang ginamit ko pong example, yung jowa nyo, halimbawa. Diba? Ang jowa nyo, kung yung jowa nyo, yung inspiration nyo for studying hard, that is extrinsic motivation. Diba? Kapag wala na yung extrinsic motivation nyo, pag nag-break kayo halimbawa ng jowa nyo, pwede kang ma-discourage na mag-aral ng mabuti. Okay? So sabi dito, intrinsic motivation is more important than extrinsic ones. Pero pwede pa rin naman kayong gumamit pwede nyo pa rin naman i-develop yung extrinsic, yung both types of motivation. Halimbawa, pwede kayong extrinsic motivation muna tayo. Halimbawa, pwedeng kapag pinamemorize nyo yung parts ng parts ng plants sa bata at pinadefine nyo yung kanilang functions. Kapag nagawa yun ng bata, pwede nyo silang bigyan ng candy bar or chocolate bar. So that is one way of motivating your students, di ba? Reward. So that is extrinsic motivation. So paano yun naman i-develop yung intrinsic motivation nila? Actually, medyo mahirap po. Kasi parang minsan kasi nasa tao to na kung magiging motivated ba siya o hindi. But you can develop, of course, their intrinsic motivation. So paano?